It started like any other luxury cruise. The grand ship Silhouette departed from Miami, its massive hull cutting through the waters with grace. The passengers were eager. Some were chasing adventure, others simply escaping the monotony of daily life. There were families, couples, and solo travelers, all looking forward to the journey ahead. The sun was bright, casting a golden glow on the ocean as it stretched out into the distance. For the first few days, everything was perfect. Passengers enjoyed sunbathing, fine dining, and endless entertainment. The cruise line prided itself on offering only the best, and the passengers quickly adjusted to the peaceful rhythm of life at sea. But on the fourth night, something changed. It began with a strange noise, a low, rhythmic thumping that came from below the decks. It wasn't constant, but it came and went at odd intervals. At first, the noise was dismissed as the ship's machinery or the creaking of its massive structure. But some passengers felt something was off, something more sinister than just a mechanical issue. The crew tried to reassure everyone, stating the ship was in perfect condition and the sounds were simply a part of its operation. But despite their assurances, an unsettling feeling began to spread among the passengers. Then came the first disappearance. Toby and Ola, a newly married couple traveling with friends, were seen laughing at dinner, chatting with a few fellow passengers. Later, they were spotted by the pool, enjoying the evening breeze. But when morning came, they were gone. Their cabin was found untouched, the door slightly ajar, but no sign of them, no sign of any struggle. The crew searched high and low, but it was as if they had simply vanished into thin air. The passengers were rattled. Some whispered that something was wrong, but others scoffed. It wasn't until the second disappearance that the fear truly set in. Keith and Audrey, a family of 5, had been seen enjoying a meal together, then later strolling the deck beneath the stars. Following morning, they too had disappeared without a trace. Their cabin was empty, but again there was no sign of a struggle. It was as if they had simply walked off the ship into the sea, leaving no evidence behind. The passengers were no longer dismissing it as coincidence. Fear began to creep in. Whispers turned into frantic conversations, and every creak of the ship felt like a warning. The crew, once calm and professional, now moved with a sense of urgency, locking doors, making hurried calls, and avoiding eye contact with the passengers. The ship, once a luxury vessel, had turned into a floating prison. The carefree atmosphere had dissolved into one of heightened anxiety. And then, on the 7th night, the storm came. The storm was unlike anything anyone had ever witnessed, a violent, all-consuming tempest that seemed to appear out of nowhere. The ship was tossed mercilessly, its hull groaning under the force of the waves. The wind howled, the thunder deafening. Amid the chaos, no one noticed the crew's sudden disappearance. By the time the storm stopped and the morning sun rose, the Silhouette was adrift. The engines were silent. The crew was gone. The ship, once bustling with life, now seemed abandoned. The passengers, stunned and confused, were left to fend for themselves. But as they moved through the ship, they began to realize something horrifying. They weren't alone. Shadows moved in the corners of their eyes, figures that couldn't be explained. Pale faces appeared from the darkness, only to vanish when approached. As the days dragged on, the survivors discovered the chilling truth. The Silhouette was not just a ship, it was a prison, bound to an ancient curse. The ship had been overtaken by a malevolent force long before any of the passengers had stepped aboard. It had waited, hidden in the bowels of the vessel, until the moment was right to claim its victims. The first disappearances were no accident. They were sacrifices, one by one. The crew had long since been overtaken, their bodies used as vessels for the dark entity that controlled the ship. In a desperate attempt to survive, the remaining passengers gathered in the grand ballroom, hoping for safety. But their efforts were in vain. The thing that had taken control of the ship, now in the form of Captain AJ, stalked them through the ship, its twisted, inhuman shape slipping through the shadows. The survivors soon realized there was no escaping it. The ship, now alive with a will of its own, seemed to guide them into the deep as it started to sink, taking them where the ancient evil lay waiting. One passenger managed to escape. Audrey, the last person to see Captain AJ in his true form, fought with everything she had. There was no fighting it. She managed to cling to a piece of debris as the ship sank, disappearing beneath the waves. But the horrors she witnessed would haunt her forever. Audrey would never be the same.